relating to the procedure for determining whether a student's violation of a public school or public institution of higher education student code of conduct was motivated by anti-Semitism.
Chair recognizes Mr. Capriglione to explain the bill.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm here today to speak to you about Senate Bill 326, a bill that I believe speaks not just to the moment we find ourselves in, but to a much older, deeper tradition of standing up against hatred, of refusing to let ignorance masquerade as free expression, and of ensuring that our educational institutions are places of learning, not breeding grounds for bigotry. Now let me be abundantly clear. Anti-Semitism has no place in the state of Texas, not in our schools, not on our university campuses, not in our communities, and not in our homes. And yet we are seeing it. We are seeing it rear its ugly head across the country. And no, it's not hiding anymore behind cryptic dog whistles or academic euphemisms. It's out in the open. Swastikas drawn in dorm hallways, Jewish students singled out and shouted down. Social media memes that might as well have been cut and pasted from 1930s propaganda leaflets. Now some may say, well, we already have policies, we already address harassment. Yes, we do. But do these policies account for the why behind the behavior? Because hate just doesn't manifest in what's done, it's in the motive. And right now, Texas lacks a standardized, uniform procedure for determining whether a student's misconduct was motivated by anti-Semitism. Now let me remind you and let you know that this bill does not change the rules about what constitutes a conduct violation. It does not add new penalties. It simply says, if anti-Semitism was a factor, we ought to acknowledge it. Now that shouldn't be controversial. That's common sense and moral clarity. So what does the bill do? Here are the nuts and bolts. It amends the Texas Education Code to add specific references to anti-Semitic motivations in student misconduct and investigations. It adopts a clear government-defined standard using the government's code section, already in Government Code 448.001, for what anti-Semitism is. This is a well-established, internationally accepted definition. It mandates that administrators and disciplinary committees assess whether anti-Semitism was a motivating factor in a student's conduct. What this bill does not do, it does not limit or penalize political speech. Students are not going to be punished for voicing their views on Middle East policy or debating the history of Zionism. That is well within their rights. But a university shall be a place where tough conversations happen, and it should challenge us. What this bill does do is it draws a line that any decent society should be willing to draw between political discourse and targeted anti-Semitic harassment.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Bryant, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield?
Does the gentleman yield for questions?
Not at this time. I just have
Not
a
at this
couple more
time.
things to say. So I just want to talk to a moment about the definition of anti-Semitism that we use in this bill. Senate Bill 326 adopts the standard established in Texas Government Code Section 448.001, which is based on the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance working definition. This definition is recognized by over 40 countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and the European Union. It's been adopted by hundreds of institutions, from universities to law enforcement agencies. It's been endorsed by both Republican and Democratic administrations, and by a wide swath of Jewish organizations. The definition is simple. It states that anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. With that, happy to entertain any questions.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Bryant, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield?
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Gentleman yields.
Mr. Capriglione, what are the religions and ethnic groups that are now included in the current law that defines bullying?
It defines bullying? I don't know. My bill doesn't deal with the current statute on bullying. What it is doing is talking about the definition that should be used in public schools, open enrollment schools, and in universities. And for point of reference, I believe most public universities here in the state of Texas are using that definition of anti-Semitism.
Right.
And again, that definition of anti-Semitism.
Well, I'm compelled to ask you what ethnic groups and religions are included in the existing bullying statute? Because the
This
answer...
is not about, this is not about bullying, so I don't know what's in a statute that I'm not referencing.
I understand. I didn't know either until I went and checked.
Okay.
But the reason for the question is that the current bullying statute doesn't reference any ethnic group or any religion. And you would be adding for the first time one of our many religions that we have in our state, or one of our many ethnic groups with your statute. So I will ask you, if your amendment is offered and one group is put into the definition.
Well, no, that's not accurate. Okay, so what this is doing is it's affecting, let's say, for instance, in higher institutions, they currently have a code of conduct and they have policies. And in that code of conduct and policies, while they may talk about bullying and harassment and cheating and other disciplinary actions, there are sections in most code of conducts, well, in every code of conduct that every university, public university has in the state of Texas, that talks about things in terms of what is considered discrimination. And so in those, they do, in fact, talk about race and gender and ageism and genetics and disabilities. So there's a wide variety of already accepted definitions inside of university, for instance, code of conducts. And so I disagree with what you said.
Well, Mr. Capriglione, we're talking about Senate Bill 326 at the present time, are we not?
We are, and not the bullying statute,
All right,
yes.
and what does it amend?
What this amends is it adds context and definitions to the how in K through 12 and in universities of higher education, how this definition should be applied in the code of conduct. Well, and specifically what it
amends, Mr. Capriglione, is section 37.0095 of the Education Code, which is the anti-bullying statute.
It talks about ways on how to modify the current code of conduct, and whether it's bullying, harassment, or other actions. What this bill does is it says that actions that have already been committed, obviously those are already subject to discipline, but what this bill does is it provides context, and for instance, not what happened, but why things happened. And it does matter in terms of why someone might either threaten someone, harass someone.
I'm asking a very precise question, and the answer to that question, which will be part of another question, is that your bill amends the bullying statute.
It does it in several places.
If I may finish my question, your bill amends the existing bullying statute, and for the first time inserts one group into the bullying statute and not any others. So under your amendment, one group would be defined for bullying, but a bullying based upon pursuit and bad treatment of another group would not be included in that statute for the guidance of our school personnel.
Right now,
I mean, that is correct, is it not?
Right now, if a student is harassed for being Jewish, there's no guarantee that the institution will recognize that as anti-Semitism, especially if it's veiled in political rhetoric or historical stereotypes. What this bill does is it provides parity, not favoritism, and ensures that anti-Semitic bias is identified and addressed just like racial, gender, or religious bias already is in similar situations.
Mr. Capriglione, there's not anybody in this House of the 150 members here who don't agree with the words that you spoke as you introduced your bill. Nobody in here wants to countenance anti-Semitism, and nobody in here is afraid to act.
So do you believe that if someone makes anti-Semitic remark...
If I may offer my question to you, nobody in here wants to...
That's not a question, that's a statement.
Well, questions have predicates, and I'm laying the predicate for it. Nobody in here wants to not be on the front lines against anti-Semitism. I'm asking you about our bullying statute, which currently doesn't single out any group for particular treatment. So accordingly, Mr. Speaker, I raise a point of order against further consideration of Senate Bill 326 under Rule 8, Section 32C2, on the ground that the bill analysis is materially misleading.
Mr. Bryant, please bring your point of order down front.